Okay, welcome to another major scale lesson. What we're going to do is we're going to combine the last two lessons, the caged root system primer and my major scale lesson 1A and 1B into our caged box major scale patterns. We're just going to learn how to build a scale within those patterns and then start building the rest of our theory out from there. What we're going to do, and one thing to remember is if you haven't done those other two lessons, you really need to do those before you go any further with this, because this really won't make very much sense unless you have the 5 root patterns from the cage system happening, and if you don't understand major scale lesson 1, which is building your major scale in whole steps and half steps going up the fretboard, as well as knowing how to play half steps and whole steps between two adjoining strings. Okay, with that said, let's start building a major scale. We're going to start in pattern 4 with a G, just because it's going to be kind of convenient. We're going to start on the root, the lowest root right here, which is G. We're going to go a whole step to the second note, and then another whole step to the third note. Now notice that I didn't go up to this, a whole step here, you know, whole step, and then a whole step here. I'm trying to keep it in a 4-fret box or area. There's going to be some other ones later on where we're going to move up a position, you know, or down a position. We're going to do some stuff like that, but we're going to try and keep them as tidy as possible. So, starting at 1 again, we have whole step to the second note, whole step to the third note, half step to the fourth note, whole step to the fifth, whole step to the sixth, now we're on the next string, whole step to the 7, half step back to the root on the 4th string, 5th fret, then we have whole step, second, whole step, third, half step to the 4th note, whole step to the 5th note here, which happens to be on the 2nd string. And if you remember from our previous lesson, we have this distance for our whole steps until we get to the 2nd and 3rd strings because of the tuning differences. So what we have here for a whole step is going to be this distance as opposed to that distance. Alright, so we're on our 5th note, and then we need a whole step to the 6th, whole step to the 7th, now we're back at our root. Now, in this little box we also have one more of the 2nd note up here, and then we also have the 7th note. And what we want to do is we want to start and end our scales when we practice them on the roots, because that's going to give you a little bit of ear training. You're going to get used to what it sounds like to play that major scale sound. If we were to start on any other note within that scale, we're going to get what's called a mode. And basically every major scale can be broken up into 7 modes. Each note in the major scale can be a root, and it gives us different arrangement of half steps and whole steps, which in turn gives us a completely different sound or sonic color. That's way more information than we need to get into today, but as we start doing these, what we want to make sure we're doing is just keeping track of where the root is and starting and ending on it, and just making sure we hear just major scale as we're working on these. So that was our 4th position. We're going to do G major here in the 5th position, having roots on the 4th string, 5th fret, and the 2nd string, 8th fret. This is built off of your D chord. I'm going to start on my 2nd finger again. Notice that we're on the 4th string, the 5th and 6th strings. We're going to have to go back and get those notes as well, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So we have a whole step to the 2nd, whole step to the 3rd, half step to the 4th, whole step to the 5th, whole step 6th, whole step 7th, half step back to the root, and then we also have notes on the 1st string, whole step to the 2nd, whole step to the 3rd, half step to the 4th. Now we're going to go back down the scale to that lowest root in that position, and we're going to pick up the rest of the notes in G major. So we have half step. Now we're thinking the scale backwards. So we're going half step to the 7th note, whole step to the 6th note, whole step to the 5th note, whole step to the 4th note, half step to the 3rd, and then a whole step down to the 2nd. And then what you want to do when you practice this is just climb back up and end on the root. Like I said, if we were to start and end on this note here, it's actually going to start sounding kind of minor due to it, being a different mode. now we're actually going to come up to pattern 1 of G major. We're going to start on our 4th finger just so that both roots fit in the same deal here, in the same position. So we got our 4th finger on the root, which is G on the 10th fret 5th string. We're going to go whole step on the next string to the 2nd, and then whole step to the 3rd, half step to the 4th, whole step dropping down a string to the 5th, whole step to the 6th. Now we need a whole step to the 7th, which is going to be our short distance again because of the 3rd to the 2nd string, and then we're at that next root, and then whole step to the 2nd, whole step to the 3rd, half step to the 4th, whole step up to the 5th. We go back down to where we started, that lowest root, and we have, going backwards down the scale, half step to the 7th, whole step to the 6th, whole step to the 5th, whole step to the 4th, half step to the 3rd, and then back. So if I was actually going to practice this one, alright, pattern 2. Starting on the 2nd finger, you're gonna notice that some of these scales like to start on the 2nd finger, some of them like to start on the 4th finger. This is one of those that starts on the 2nd. So we have whole step, and then whole step to the 3rd on the next string, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That's our root, so we're starting over again. Here's the 2nd note. There's our whole step, remember 3rd, 2nd string, whole step, half step, whole step, and then back down. Lowest root, we're actually going to catch the notes below it again, half step, and then back. Now, the pattern 3 right here, what we're going to do, this is going to be one of the ones that likes to start on the 4th finger. And we're going to go whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Now if you notice my fingering, I tend to like this. There's no rule saying you have to do this, but when I'm playing and I've got a note here, for instance, on the 15th fret, and I end up having to go to the 11th fret, and there's only 2 notes on the string in between, I'll go 4th finger on this C right here, 1st finger on the D, and I'll use my 4th finger here so that I can just reach back with the 1st finger. It just tends to make things a little bit easier where you can kind of crawl up and down a scale position without having to stop and look or pick the whole hand up. Do that sort of thing, which with a lot of players you'll actually kind of hear kind of a glitch when they do that. So anyway, that's just kind of how I like to do it. Alright, so with this one we've got there's the root, whole step, half step, whole step, half step to the root, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Alright, and then as we come back down, just below the root, we've got a half step and a whole step. Okay, that should give us all 5 positions, because at this point now we're back to pattern number 4, which is where we started.